jewelry friends, my name is Joey Balistreri. Welcome to my work table. I am having so much fun. I just unboxed the Deluxe Czech bundle from DD Beads. It is a wonderful, almost, I always say it's just a sampler, not curated, but Stella, the curator, does an amazing job with this bundle. And in the unboxing video, I did 3 pairs of earrings, really cool earrings with the beads from this bundle. I just can't stop designing with them because of all the cool shapes. And so what you see here is 3 projects. I'm going to try to get them all done in this video. 2 bracelets and a pendant. We'll start with this bracelet first because this one is probably the most complicated of the 3 projects, and not that it's complicated at all. What I did is took my 1-step looper, my 2 1/4 millimeter, and made these little components with these elongated bicones that were in the box. And I just pulled in some gold-filled spacer beads from my stash. And so I will link any of the things that I've added in the description box of the video in case you see something you want for your own projects. And these were the coolest beads. I used them in my earring project in my first video. They look almost like they're fluted, but they look almost like a bead that's been cut in half, so you can stack them in different ways. I put a little gold spacer in between to create this beautiful component, and there was one of these little nautilus shells in the box and in the Czech bundle. And so I have been playing with making this funky little component using 2 bell bead caps. This was my prototype, and I left it together so you could see where we're going, but I'm going to cut this end away and redo this so I can show you exactly what I did. And this is not hard, but it might be a little tedious for some of you because I am using this gorgeous chain as kind of, I'm making kind of like a living bead or a dimensional bead. When I do my bracelet art, I love to come up with something unexpected in the bracelet. So there is a little Czech glass disc that and really any bead will work that fits inside this little cone bead cap. And I just used a little piece of wire to do simple loops on either end. And let me show you this chain. This is available on the DD Beads website. This is a brass chain, and it's e-coated so that it won't tarnish. And it is just absolutely wonderful. I actually used it in this bracelet too. It's just such a wonderful chain, but it has a lot of links. Let me rephrase. It has a lot of links, but then to those links, these ever so tiny ball head pins and seed beads are wire wrapped onto the links, and it just makes this absolutely stunning chain. So I just literally counted 4 links of that chain, which you can't even see, to make this little like movable section. And these gorgeous elongated bicones that were in the box, I actually have an extra component made here. I don't think I'll need it in my length. And if I didn't like this, I have this ready to go in and complete my bracelet. But these elongated bicones, I just turn them this way with a ball head pin to add a little spikiness and dimension. So as I said, I'm going to start with this one, and I am going to redo this. This was my prototype, and I don't like how this is fitting in there. Plus, I wanted to show you how this came together. So this side I'm really happy with. I got my loop nice and tight. So I'm going to just remove this one. Just going to come in with my little cutters and remove this one. And I'll show you exactly what I did. So it's just a simple loop that I fit to the very last link of that chain. And like I said, this is not difficult, but because it's so small, you might find it you might find it a little tedious. So I'm going to take, let me show you my wire. I have my little spool. I have the 22 gauge. I'll be using my Softflex craft wire, and I'm using the 20 gauge and the 22 gauge. I have a spool of each. It has an anti-tarnish coating on it. It's just like the best craft wire. And I love having things that match. For this project, I will be needing the 22 gauge, but I love that the color matches and everything, but I have like the different thicknesses. So on this one, I am going to get a really tiny little loop. In fact, I think I used my 1.5 millimeter one-step looper on this end, so I'll just do that again. Just get a simple loop in there, and then I'm going to add this cone bead cap to this piece of wire like that. And then this is just a little Czech glass disc, and I just played with my beads. I think a round bead would even work, but do you see how it just fills up the space and stabilizes that cone? And then I want this to be really, really tight, so I'm going to make sure that it's pushed down in there. Get a hold of my loop, and I'm going to just bend this wire, and I am going to put my tip of my round nose pliers in there and just get a simple loop in. Like I said, it's a little bit tedious because the bell cap is kind of in the way, but I wanted this loop really small as I could get it, so that when I attach my little chain section, so that it looks you know, not too noticeable, I guess, unobtrusive. And then I'm just going to come right there and just snip. And I might even, yeah, I'm going to make it even a little bit shorter. I want a really, really small loop. I just need to be able to get the last link of this chain on that loop. So like I said, not hard, but you have to take a deep breath and be patient and find that last link if you're using this chain. Now honestly, I think this idea might even work with pretty much any chain if you want to do a little chain section, but I had this and I think it's so cool. So I'm going to get my pliers to help me and just try. I actually think I need my pliers on this side too. I got it in there. Whoops. I got it in there and I closed it, and I'm just going to come back and really make sure that my loop is closed all the way. I can see I have it in there, but I can see that my loop needs to be really closed. So I'm just going to get in there. Okay, and so since this was my prototype, I had already added in some of these elongated bicones to the chain, and I have 4 of them on there, but I want to do at least 5, and if I can add more. I wanted this to be, when I connect it, I wanted this to be like really a busy little section. So I'm just taking a ball head pin and another one of those bicones, and I'm doing this with my pliers again, just going to bend that over. Because I want a really tiny, simple loop on this. So I'm just going to stay down near the tip and bring my wire over. It almost looks like I'm starting to do a wire wrapped loop, but in fact, I'm just making a simple loop. And I'm going to come in with my flush cutters right where the loop meets the core wire. And then I'm going to open this and just find a spot on this crazy little component to add this in. And like I say, this is not hard, but it could be a little tedious. So if you like this idea, you know, give it a try with maybe larger chain, even a longer section of chain. And I'm using this cha-cha chain, but you could make your own cha-cha chain. Like you could fill it up with your own little dangles. But I love this chain, and I think this is really cool and fun. And so I'm just like filling it up. And just really important, since these wires are really fine, it's really important to take your time and get in there and make sure it's closed really well. So look at that cool little component. It's like so, it moves, it's like so dimensional. And I just love how when you do see inside, there's a little flat disc bead in there. So now this is a simple matter of opening and closing the simple loops and connecting. And so let's see, I'll just start with the clasp and I'm going to connect. So I used that same 20 gauge wire to make my jump rings. I'm gonna use my little jump ring tool since I have to connect so much. And I'm gonna add this to this little hammered clasp. Let me, I used my 2 1/4 millimeter one-step looper for all of these loops, and I generally like to go tidy up my loops and work harden, but I did not because I knew I was going to be opening and closing and connecting them. So I'll be doing that all the way through my connecting, just with a little bit of force, opening and closing my pliers on these loops, and it just work hardens them and just adds a little element to the bracelet. And then I'm going to open each one and work my way down the line. And I need to make the little component out of this, so I'm going to come back with that same one-step looper. I really like this when I'm making a beaded chain because it doesn't stress my hand, and also all my loops are consistently the same size. Just feed on my little nautilus bead. And just keep connecting. And this cool little bracelet is done. I feel like I could even add some more to this little section here, but look how gorgeous this is. And it looks like I got my length pretty good. If I want to, if I feel like things are a little difficult to clasp, sometimes I'll go back, especially on the T-bar, and I do feel like I need to do that. On the T-bar side of this, I need to add another jump ring. The T-bar on a toggle clasp like this has to turn sideways to go through the loop, and sometimes an extra jump ring just makes it so easy. Okay, let's give it a try with an extra jump ring. Oh yeah, so much better. So much better. Look at that. That is the coolest bracelet. I love that. And you know what? I have 4 leftover elongated bicones, and I may even add in some more. That is so pretty, but you could do a little section like this with a little bit larger loop here and do several chains, and I'll show you what that might look like in the next bracelet. But oh my goodness, this is so fun. I love having a little something unexpected, a little something different kind of show up in one of my bracelets. So I'm going to set this one aside, and I'll set this aside. We're done with that. And this next bracelet is literally simple connecting. So these were beautiful little like pillow or brick shaped beads with the diamond checkerboard that's embossed with gold. I love black and gold. And this is all connecting, and you just saw me make a component with the nautilus shell, and I'm just going to do the same thing again here. And on these I also used that 2 1/4 millimeter one-step looper, and one of the reasons I went up to the medium size of this is just because I'm not connecting my bracelets with jump rings, so a little bit larger simple loop makes your bracelet move a little bit more freely. And so I'm just going to thread on one of these little beads, just turning that little pillow bead into a component or a connector, and then another matching loop. Okay, so all my little components are made, and let me show you what this is. This is jump rings with 3 equal lengths of chain connected to each one. So that is going to be a segment, and I did 3 of those, and in between those are these little pillow components. I may have to take away, it was really hard for me to get my measurement with this design, so I may have to take away one section of chain and do like 2 pillow beads. But with the simple loops, it's really easy to make those adjustments. And I did put out 2 more jump rings because I will need those for my clasp. And I'm going to give this a try. I bought these little snap clasps on a beading trip, and they are, I think, most commonly used when you do a bead woven design. But I'm going to give it a try on this bracelet and see how I like it. When you do your clasp with jump rings, you can always change your mind. So I'm going to start on one end and close this really well, work harden, and then it's going to be the same thing, just really simple connecting. If you can open and close a jump ring, you should be able to do this. Put my little clasp on there. I'm just going to work my way down the line, connecting the components that I've made. And I'm going to open this, and this will get attached right to this jump ring. Now, the only thing about this, and of course it depends on the chain you're using, I have an oval link chain here, so I just needed to make sure that all my chains were straight, that they weren't connected, twisted, or tangled up, and that also that my jump ring didn't like flip through one of the chains. So that's why they're laid out here so delicately, is just to keep everything straight until I have all these loops connected. Look how cool this is. What an unusual bracelet. This is so fun and so like cool to stack with other things. And I actually love the little snapping clasp. That is absolutely gorgeous. I love it. Okay, second bracelet done. And again, simple connecting, simple loops and jump rings, and opening and closing simple loops. Okay, for my last project in this video, I am going to show you what I have here, and then I'm going to back it out. I have taken these little lentil beads and my 22 gauge wire and made jump rings and put them through them. And this is going to be a really gorgeous pendant. When I make a pendant, I always give myself a lot of extra wire because I have several different chains and leather, and I will make really large bales, and then I have a pendant that I can wear on different chains and, you know, create different looks with it. So this is a stack of these beautiful, I'll just take them off. This is a stack of these beautiful Czech glass pearlescent disc spacers. That's a little crystal from my stash. And to that, in between each one, I've just added this gold disc. So if you didn't see my unboxing, I'll just give you a look at these. Aren't they amazing? I love these beads. That is one of my favorite Czech glass designs, and I have these gold plated disc spacer beads that were part of that stack. And then let me show you what is happening here. So I want this to be a really full cluster, so I have like creatively put these loops on this wire. So to this end, I did a really large loop, like maybe a 3 millimeter. I know it's hard to tell because I have strung all of these on, but it is a simple loop, and I just strung on as many of these as I could fit in the loop. My intention is to use them all to make this little like dangly section really full. And then I just fit on 4 more of those jump rings on that, and then I did this stack. Now I'll redo my stack for you. It is just the glass pearl discs, gold plated disc, and I just alternated all the way up to the top, and I went into my stash and just pulled out a little crystal just to top this off. So I've finished with a gold-plated spacer and this little guy on the top. So that's the beginning. Now to the bottom of this simple loop, this large simple loop, I am going to add another component to this, and I'm going to add even more of these little lentil discs. So this is a piece of 22 gauge wire that I showed you. I'm going to use this bail making plier and a little snip of my 22 gauge wire, and I'm going to use the smallest bail on this plier and just put my wire in there and just roll it against my finger and just make a coil. And I'm just going to coil the whole length of this and then snip these into jump rings, and that's what I used for putting through that little hole in the lentil bead to make them dangle nicely. Okay, and now I'm just going to take my flush cutter on the flat side, and right where I first started coiling, just snip one at a time all the way up. Last one. And now they just go through those little lentil beads, just like that. Just make sure they're closed really well. And so I'm going to do all of those. And let's see, I'm going to take another piece of the 20 gauge wire and just make another little component here. And this is going to attach to my chain. So I have 3 lengths of chain here, and this is also from DD Beads. This is a solid brass chain that is plated and e-coated so that it will not tarnish. And what I have is 2 lengths that are the same and a little bit shorter than my center link. So I am going to thread those onto this jump ring in that order. So I want a short one, the longer one in the middle, and then the shorter one on the outside. So it looks like that, and I'm going to close this jump ring. And now I'm going to make another little small component here with this 20 gauge wire, and I am going to do a 1.5 millimeter loop on this little piece here, and I'm just doing this so that I can fit more of these little lentil beads. I wanted to use them all up, and I wanted this little section of my pendant to be really full. So let's see if I want to attach it first. I think I'm going to just make this component. So this is going to look a little strange. I'm going to come just enough. I'm just going to come just enough to, let's see, how many do I have left? I have 8 left. So I'm going to come right about there and just make another little component with simple loops. You know, it probably looks a little strange, but it's just a little thing, and I'm just doing that to add length, movement, and really because I want to add these all on. So let's turn this upside down and find a little spot. If I can, I want 4 of these on each side. Let's see if I can. 2, 3. It won't matter so much because I'm going to just make it a cluster. And just close that really well. And now to this side, I'm going to add this to my jump ring. I didn't wire wrap the top yet, so it's a little bit to hold on to because I wanted to have the option of adding in more drops. So to this side, I'm just going to take this jump ring with my chains and close it really well. Okay, so now I've just created a little bit of dangle and I have this much space to continue adding my little lentil beads onto. So this one I closed, but I'm going to need to close them over this little bit here. Okay, last one. I'm just find a little space for it. It's starting to be a little bit difficult to, you know, get in there, but that's okay. And also, I'll show you. I normally would have gone ahead and done my bail, like wire wrapped my loop, but I left this open in case I wanted to rearrange these lentil discs a little bit to make them hang just right. Because I did, as you see, before I did this stack, I did thread some right onto that wire, and then I added some in the loop and then some on that piece, and I didn't want to wrap this up until I could see that this was going to hang the way that I wanted it, and I love it. I think it is perfect. So now I can go ahead and make my bail on this. So I'm going to come right here with my pliers and make a 90-degree bend, and I know that I need a really large bail to go over the clasps on my chains, so I have to come to the second to the largest mandrel on this bail making plier, and I know that because I've made a lot of pendants for my jewelry wardrobe. So I just have to get in there so that I am wrapping, let me get it centered, so I am wrapping this over the barrel that I want, which is the second to the largest. So I'm just going to bring it over, and I give myself a lot of extra because sometimes I'll do a double. On this stack I'm not going to be wrapping down, but if I have beads where I want to decorate them further, I have all this to play with. So I'm going to come around, and I think I will do a double wrap on this since I have the wire. So you have to, my loop looks like that, so I have to reposition my pliers again so that you know, I can wrap around the mandrel one more time, and I'm just going to do that. And like I say, just reposition so I can get another wrap in there, just like that. Okay, and now I'm just going to look at it this way and make sure it is straight. And I'm going to leave it on here, and let me get a good hold of it. I'm going to leave my loops on here and start my wrap, and then take it off. And now I'm going to just grab a hold of these, and this is a normal wire wrapped loop. Just wrap down to my bead. You could do a messy wrap here if you like that kind of, you know, that kind of artisan look. I tend to do things really neat. And on this, because it's a pendant, I am going to like wrap down and back up again, just making this part a little bit thick, and maybe just use up the wire that I have. Okay, and I'm just going to trim that off and just tidy everything up. Just make sure that I'm happy with the wraps. I tend to spend a lot of time like on a loop or on something like this, and that is just me. I'm going to straighten up these loops, and you can even get your plier, get something in there and separate them a little bit, like make a bail. Okay, look at that. Isn't that so gorgeous? And now to the bottom, I have 3 lampwork beads that I got from the DD Beads website. These are so gorgeous. They have that like sparkle glass encased inside the white opaque glass. And it's so pretty. I'm going to make my 3 drops using some decorative head pins. So I'm just going to put my little flower at the bottom here, and let's see, I think I will do a simple loop here and just attach it right to the bottom of my chain, just a small simple loop. And just attach it right to the bottom of my chain. And I'm going to do the exact same thing for the other 2 and add those in. This is absolutely gorgeous. I love this pendant so much. It's so pretty, and I just love, like, when I travel to bring one of my gold chains and then 1 or 2 pendants like this to get different looks without having a bunch of chains tangled up. And you could definitely vary this with more chains or 1 single chain. If I had more of these lentil beads, I probably would even keep going and fill up this ring, but I used every single one. If you guys can get your hands on one of the deluxe Czech bundles from DD Beads, I don't think you'll regret it. There is just so many projects, and I still have a ton of beads left over, and I've done 3 pairs of earrings, 2 bracelets, a pendant, and look at this. This is going to be my next project. This is all of the lilacs and whites that were in the box, and I pulled in some spacers from my stash, and I'm already thinking about another project for another video. So I will put links in the description box to the Deluxe Czech Bundle and DD Beads website. I do have a discount code if you're a first-time customer, and you'll find all kinds of things. She is starting to carry some of the brass chains and findings that are e-coated, that don't tarnish. So that is just wonderful. Those favorite findings of mine. And I thank you so much for watching. I hope everybody's safe and well and having fun on your beading mats. Ciao, creative friends.